For me, I have always been interested in automobiles, even from its earliest conception that I can remember. They were very interesting to what they did. I mean, a machinery that rolled and moved and gave us the freedom to get around, fulfilling job necessities or just sheer joy and pleasure of a leisurely drive, or becoming something more. But the problem was something happened, something went wrong, and in that it was becoming maddening to keep them running. The problem being that a lot of people would try and fix them themselves, but not everybody is capable of that. They try it, and they really look for someone of more experience or background or training, or they would study and learn themselves, which is what I always did. And it seemed to be a love affair. It gave you self-satisfaction and skills. Those that are able to do this at whatever degree always became interesting to me, and I always thought about, well, what about them? The history, not only of the car, but the background and history of those people taking something that might not look good to others and modifying it, turning it, changing it and shaping it into something either they liked or for other people. There are so many different automobiles from the conception to now, and there are so many people out there that have background and history and stories to tell. This series is that. This will cover automobile shops, motorcycle shops, engine builders, upholsterers, painters, fabricators, welders, or people that just have a love of anything old or new. I appreciate what they can do, and I've always wondered what to do about helping them tell their story. This is it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to call this Shop Talk, and we're going to go to places and get the background, get the stories of the individuals. I find it very interesting. I hope you do too. So let's go. Let's start our first series, Shop Talks. Hey guys, this is your favorite fat man. We're not on three wheels. We are actually out to date in Huber Heights, Ohio, and we have a special guest. This is going to probably be the first installment of my Shop Talks, where we're going to go out and find people in the area that are custom builders, modifiers, refurbishers, hot rod builders, motor builders, and do their shops, upholstery places. And today we have Digger. And this is from Digger's Party Bus.
Digger's Custom Coach.
There you go.
We build party bus interiors.
And what the party starts?
The party starts here.
All right. How long? You had a shop before? An actually building shop before?
Yes. And I used to build my own party buses in there. Plus, there's a bus on its way over here right now that you're going to see that I built that over there at that shop. Mm-hmm. Having a shop was fantastic. It kind of sucks building them out here in the backyard now, but you got to do what you got to do.
But you got a pretty good clientele.
It's growing faster than I can keep up. I am completely a one-man operation.
Absolutely.
I got the buses. I build the entire interiors. I do all the upholstery, the wiring. I do everything all by myself. But I've got so many guys now because of YouTube. So many guys coming to me that I can't build buses fast enough.
Oh, that's cool. How long when did you first get started doing this?
Well,
not only here, but at the shop when you first started?
2005.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I had a shop up until about 2015. Mm-hmm. And, I kind of saw economy was dropping off. Nightclubs kept having shootings and, there was violence and everything. And little by little, the strip clubs disappeared out of Dayton and everything, so it kind of killed the party bus business for Dayton. Mm-hmm. Other areas, though, it's still booming.
Man.
So I had to get back into the bus build.
There you go. What did you do before you did the buses and stuff, if you don't mind?
I was a mechanical engineer for 20 years, and
Work for a corporation or just?
the last place I worked at was I was designing infant car seats,
Oh, cool.
and
Yeah.
I think the reason they hired me is because I could actually fit in them.
So you were the test dummy for the
I was kind of
booster
the test
chairs?
dummy.
Yeah, I was the test dummy for motorcycles for a few years. Not on purpose, I don't think, but we did check out a few of them that
Well,
got wrecked a lot.
I didn't get hurt in the car seats. Luckily, they weren't mounted in cars.
Unfortunately, I did, but so you're doing this now. Is it a good business for you? Is it a good fit for your personality, for what you like to do, your freedom? You know, you're a one-man show and you carry all the weight, but you only are responsible to you.
True, and I love not having a boss other than myself. But I mean, my boss is an asshole. But you know,
Yeah. So that's what I always tell people. I says you don't have to be crazy, but it helps.
it definitely does help.
It does help.
But well, you know, when COVID hit, I was doing fantastic with airport and corporate service, just taking people back and forth to the airports. But when COVID hit, well, pretty much the bottom dropped out of that.
Yeah.
My corporate contract, that held on, but all the regular people, it died. And it has not really making a comeback yet.
Yeah.
So that's why when I was approached by a local company about building a party bus, I thought, well, I know how to do that, and I can do that and make money, so okay, I'll build you a bus. Once I did the YouTube videos and everything, it kind of took off, and now, like I say, I can't keep up with the amount of guys that want buses built right now.
It can snowball into a big boom, but then you might get to the place again. I'm just saying, you might get to the place again where you might have to have help. Bigger than
Well,
you know.
But we all know that nobody wants to work these days.
Yeah.
I have put feelers out there about getting somebody to help. You know, even if it was an 18-year-old kid that just wanted to learn, I can't get anybody to come over here and willing to do anything. Even if I offer to pay them something,
Right.
they don't.
So, doing things before you started the party bus, you were telling me what you did with that. Had you had any training with upholstery and stuff and conversion type of things?
Just my own stuff over the
What you
years
did?
of playing with old cars, you know. But, you know, with YouTube, I started watching some YouTube
Yeah.
videos, and
Yeah.
before you know it, I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Mom and I, just speaking from personal experience and stuff, Mom and I have been doing upholstery and custom interior stuff and whatever since I was 5, 6 years old. She was always a seamstress, always did sewing.
Right.
She's worked for several type of interior decorators and stuff. And we used to get boats, motorcycles, campers brought to us all the time. And until we had to shut down the store for the COVID thing, and when my sister was getting sick and the COVID came and really messed stuff up, I totally understand. And it's enjoyable. But after 35 years of arthritic hands.
I have to release a little
Yeah.
unknown thing is that I've never put a stitch in anything.
Really? You've never done
I've
any
never
sewing?
used a sewing machine.
Yeah.
I've never stitched anything.
Well-
when you look at my buses, you would think, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. But basically what I'll do is I'll make a seat pad. I'll have all these seat pads that run around the bus. Each individual pad, I put the foam on top of it, and then I wrap it, and I do hospital bed corners
Yep.
and staple it underneath.
Well, absolutely.
And when it's all done and those are stuck together, nobody can
Right.
see those seams.
In big conversion upholstery, and again, just speaking for what I know, what I was taught by Mom and who was teaching her years ago
Right.
and stuff, in that type of conversion, there's not a lot of times you have to sew unless you're sewing fitted cushions, fitted seats, slip cover types of things. There was
you
a
know,
sewing
some
in that.
people want crazy designs in the backrest.
And there
or
are
whatever.
people that will put that in the material for you.
And there were people that are willing to
Yeah.
charge you a
Oh,
buttload for
absolutely.
it.
Well,
The nice thing about the way I do my stuff too is that a lot of these guys, when they do limousines or party buses or whatever, they'll do one big long seat. It might be 8 feet long, one piece of pad, one piece of material, and everything like that. Well, what happens when somebody cuts it?
you have to replace the whole thing.
Well, the way I do mine, I do all my seat bottoms and my seat backs in 3-foot sections.
Absolutely.
That way, if this one back here gets damaged,
Yeah. Keep it.
within 30 minutes, I can pull this seat out,
Yeah.
rewrap it, throw it back in the bus, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, keeping it modular, that's what we used to do with a
Right.
lot of the upholstery jobs that we did. The biggest problem we would have would be matching the direction of fabric and trying to explain to someone
Yeah.
about stretch, draw, and pull on fabric or vinyl. They have no idea about that. They go,
and if you don't know about it,
Yeah.
you got to experience it and then say, okay, I screwed up, and now I know what to do right.
and a lot of your vinyl, even the high end stuff, the stuff that replicates leather look and stuff,
Right.
it has a grain to it. It's a one directional type of thing, and you cannot turn it.
And
It all has to match.
This bus, we've got the material that we're doing the walls with and the seat bottoms is a diamond pleated, pre-stitched, pre-foam backed
Yeah.
material. Well, I got to make sure all those diamonds
Absolutely.
all line up, on different panels and everything. So when I go inside and I cover all this, I have to have the other panel that's mating to it right next to it. That way I can make sure that I get those diamonds lined up.
Yeah. One of the
Because if
things.
you don't, it'll stick out like a sore thumb.
One of the things. One of the things we used to run into was fabric with a pattern. Okay, and the pattern is repeated, but every so many feet. So when someone would get a quote on the material, we'd give them a quote on the material, and they go, "Well, I measured it. It won't take that much material." But you have to match it every so many feet. You
Right.
lose 2 or 3 feet every time you have to go to match a pillow set or a wall to a seat. Granted, not everybody knows about that, but you have to pay for it because that's the material.
It's
And
just
all the
extra
little
material.
pieces, right, all the little pieces that are left over usually can't be used for anything else. So,
And I can tell you, I've got boxes and drawers full of anything that I have
End
that
pieces?
is bigger than this.
Yeah.
I save it because you never know when you need a little patch
or
you need
repair this or
do
whatever.
one
Yeah,
little thing.
Mom did that, and Mom now makes quilts and stuff for gifts, all kinds of things for other people. Pageant. When I was a kid, all my clothes was made by her. I used to go to school with some of the wildest, the 60s up to 72. 60s up to 72 wildest looking bell-bottom pants and all that stuff that you had ever seen.
And I'm
They
sure
wanted
you've
to
seen
know.
it. I still wear bell bottoms.
Oh, yeah, they
I
wanted to
love
know where I got all that stuff, what store I got it at, and I said Mom made it, and they didn't. None of them believed me. So she still makes me jackets, like my skull jacket that I have out there, and several others. She still makes all that. Until my sister passed, she used to do all kinds of things. She made me some really wild hats and stuff. And everybody goes, "What are you wearing that for?" I said, "My sister made it for me. I'm going to wear it." So now you say you were telling me earlier that you get a lot of these buses, and you like the ones that have the handicap ramps in them because they're a heavier chassis, heavier suspension, and so forth.
Normally, your standard buses are made out of like an E250. When you get into the E350s and the E450s especially, you get into a lot heavier duty suspensions, better brakes, better alternators, for charging everything. But when you have one that has the wheelchair lift in it, number one, that gives you a very thick pre-wired power wire back here and a ground wire that are sufficient for tapping into to run everything that I do back here. But like I say, as much as I hate to remove a wheelchair lift, you know that bus has a heavier duty alternator. It's got a heavier duty, everything in the charging system is heavier duty. The power wires are heavier
Frame,
duty.
suspension, and everything.
Instead of one battery, it's got 3.
Yep.
So it makes it to where converting it to a party bus is actually better because when you look at these buses, you're talking about traveling down the road with 2,000 pounds of people.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of people, literally.
And they're not usually sitting stagnant either.
They're not
They're
sitting
moving
still.
around
They're
from
moving
side to
around.
side, back and forth.
I used to put the dance poles in, and I'll tell you, if you're cruising down the highway at 55 miles an hour and a 200-pound guy starts spinning on that pole, you feel that entire bus walking in the back end.
Yeah.
His momentum, centrifugal force, that force will rock a bus down the road.
Yeah.
So you need to have, building a cheap party bus out of a 150 or a 250, it's not worth it. You got to go heavier duty in order to withstand the weight of everything that I put in the buses, plus 2,000 pounds worth of people.
So they call you Digger.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that? I mean, your name is Chris Curtis,
Right.
but they
But
call you Digger,
not
and that's
very
what
many people, not very many people call me Chris anymore.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. I love the name of Digger. What had happened is back in 1989, I purchased a 1967 Cadillac Superior Crown hearse. 21 and a half feet long, 6,400 pounds of total freaking fun.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean.
it was a $200 car.
Yeah.
It was a rust bucket. It needed work and everything. So over the next 7 years, I put a lot of time and effort into that car to make it something. But as far as the name of Digger, I started driving this thing to work in 1990. An older gentleman that I worked with, he started calling me Digger. As I was walking in the door, "Hey, Digger, what's going on?" Finally, I walked over after 3 or 4 times of this, and I said, "Why do you keep calling me Digger?" And he says, "Well, it was Digger Odell that was the Undertaker on Gunsmoke." He says, "So when I see you driving a hearse," he says, "it reminds me of Digger Odell, so I'm calling you Digger." It stuck. Next thing you know, everybody at work, they're all calling me Digger. I liked it. So then, on a different note, I got into go-kart racing. Well, when you race go-karts, and I'm not talking little go-karts, we're talking $10,000, 100-mile-an-hour go-karts, but people refer to the engines that are on go-karts as tater diggers because go-karting started off with people taking the horizontal shaft engines off of
The rototiller engines.
rototillers.
I remember that. Yep.
So when I got into the go-kart racing, the name Digger, it just transcended right into that too.
Yeah.
So I got pretty popular with the whole go-kart thing. So the name Digger and Digger's Dungeon, which is what I called my garage, Digger and Digger's Dungeon, pretty much anybody in the go-kart world in the United States knew who Digger was. So that stuck with me. Well, like I say, back to the hearse. This whole time, I still had the hearse. I was doing interior stuff. I was building sound systems for it, and doing all the body work and the paint and everything like that. That car taught me more about cars than I had ever thought that I needed to know. But it also started me into liking working on cars. So obviously, because of the hearse, I had the hearse for 7 years. Didn't sell it until '97 when I purchased this house. But all right, so obviously after owning a hearse for 7, 8 years or whatever, I developed a love for station wagons, vans, anything off the wall, weird, unusual that's got a lot of room inside of it. I like vehicles that. The worst thing I can think of is back in the day when I used to have like a '73 Caprice. It had a trunk. It's a 2-door hardtop with a trunk. The trunk was dead space to me. I didn't put a whole lot in there, but you couldn't do a whole lot with it. This was before big sound systems and everything. I just developed a love for wagons.
Yep.
So over time, I've had 4 different Falcon station wagons. I don't know why I go with Falcons, but probably just because they're the last affordable old car that you can buy these days.
Right.
You can still buy a running, driving Falcon for $1,000.
Right, and the one you have now is really kind of rare, being the 2-door wagon that it is and stuff, and it has a history of being a race car.
Right.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it was drag race through the '70s and tore up a little bit, but I put everything back together.
And I can appreciate the station wagon. I to this day I miss my '64 Buick LeSabre wagon. I had the 445 Wildcat motor in it. So it had the big block, the big nail head with the hugest carburetor I ever saw in my life on it. And it wouldn't take off very fast, but you get it up and it'd run 130 mile an hour. You couldn't stop it, but it would just fly. So I love it. Basically, it was the hearse without the bubble top on it.
Right.
So,
Well,
I can appreciate that.
I do like that raised top.
Oh,
on the
yeah.
horses. The wagons obviously don't have that. My ultimate car would be to get an old Vista Cruiser because it does kind of have that hopped up.
Yeah,
thing.
Buick and Oldsmobile with the Vista Cruise roof and stuff like that.
Well,
That is a
and
sweet car.
What I was raised in. I was born December of '66. Mom and Dad had a Buick station wagon at the time, with Wildcat engine and all that stuff. That was neat, but unfortunately, about 1972, my brother took it somewhere where he shouldn't have, and he got hit, and they totaled it.
But doing that,
and then we went to another station wagon,
Yeah.
So from the time I was born in '66 until about '79, we always had a wagon in the family. You just grow to like them.
Yeah, it's kind of like me with Volkswagens and three-wheel vehicles. So I've always loved them, always worked on them. Dad wouldn't let me have them because they were foreign made.
Right.
And three-wheel vehicles, old Survey cars, motorcycle trikes, VW trikes, all of them and stuff. That's kind of my niche. That's why, it's a three-wheel riding vlog. That's why I do what I do and stuff. And I know early on, Mom was very creative. And can you say with your creativity that you're utilizing now, you've learned it and honed it over all these years of having vehicles that you basically have put your hands on, period?
There is absolutely no doubt that from 16 years old when I first got my driver's license, I've always been trying to improve whatever car that I had. Whether that was a cool car or just something that I got stuck with to go through college, I tried to do everything I could to make my cars different,
right,
stand out.
Keep it running, but make it part of you.
Right.
That's one of the things that I enjoy personally about the car community now. You can buy them brand new, but people that take and modify them, and there's nothing against buying them brand new and keeping them that way. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. My thing is to allow your creativity to come forth, and whatever it is. I don't care if you change the floor mats to something you like. That's something. You go on from there. But that's why I can really appreciate these guys that have, kept original cars, one owner original cars the way they are. I believe that's phenomenal. But those guys that also got cars and modified them to period correct modifications. So the modification they did to period correct. So gassers, dude, I lose my mind over a gasser, and I don't care what condition it's in.
Gassers are just cool.
It
doesn't have to be a nice car.
No, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have beautiful paint. I painted cars for many years. I did custom body work and painting cars and did all the upholstery and all that stuff for many years. And I really, truly understand what it takes.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that. But it's not, for my personal stuff, it's not me. I want to ride. I want to get out there and drive it. I want to be in it. I want to keep it running, and I'll customize it a little bit. Usually after getting the cars that I got, I usually modified or painted a car once. And I'd keep it for 10, 15 years after that. And whatever condition it was in at the end, that's what condition it was in. I did it once for myself. But I can really appreciate those that keep after it and do it. And my thing is to keep the history alive. Be creative, but keep the history alive. Because we're losing a lot of our automotive history.
There's no doubt. Yeah.
We're losing a lot of it. The entire 90s, that Cash for Clunkers, where they crushed, the entire 90s are gone. You can't find those cars. And everybody goes, well, they were horrible to begin with.
Pretty much anything from 75 up got crushed. And there's so many cool cars that were on the road back then that there was nothing wrong with them, and they crushed them. Blew them up and crushed them.
People look at me like, because I'll lose my mind over an AMC. So older AMCs, the Mavericks, the Comets, I lose my mind over them. They go, oh, it's got 4 doors and all this. I go, oh my gosh, do you know the history of this? The motor in this thing alone, the pedigree that these motors have, the old Y block, the Hemis, the Y blocks, all the old Mopars. Oh my gosh, just the history of all that.
I was never a big Mopar person, but when Graveyard Cars came on TV,
absolutely.
I started watching that because I thought, maybe I'll learn a little bit about Mopars. I've learned a ton of
that man's
that
amazing, isn't he?
He is.
He is a repository for every number, every part on any of the Mopars during that era.
Because of all that, I'm not going to run out tomorrow and buy a '68 Roadrunner, But at least when I see one at a car show now, I have a little bit of an idea of the history on those cars and everything, just because of Mark Warman with Graveyard Cars. Yeah. You study, and I watch those shows over and over and over. You get to where I can almost word for word them, but
I have a tremendous amount of respect for the people like that and people that are creative, kind of like you doing this. I mean, you might think, oh, I'm doing this. But honestly, to me, this is fantastic. All right. You're taking something, you're being creative, you're giving life back to this vehicle that could possibly just be done in.
Well, and these buses normally are out of service from somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with like RTA, what do you call it? County transport and everything, they are only allowed to use those vehicles for X amount of years or X amount of mileage, and then they have to be, eliminated.
Yeah.
Well, what happens to those? They usually go out and sit in a field somewhere. Maybe they hit the internet for an auction or something like that.
Maybe they get parted out.
Maybe they get parted out or whatever. But there are ones that people like this guy that owns this bus, he finds it, buys it cheap, and then brings it to somebody like me, and I'll modify it. By the time he's all said and done with this bus, exterior done and everything, he's probably going to have about $20,000 in this bus.
Yeah, but it could be a good investment for him
If
he
rents it out.
Right.
He can rent this thing out for $500 every Saturday night.
Yep.
If he does a wedding in the day and a Saturday night out, and squeezes in a Friday night,
Yeah.
He's made a close to a $3,000 weekend.
Yeah. As long as you keep maintenance up on these, they were designed to run nonstop, 24/7, basically, to do transport.
And all of my drivers, I always told them, from the minute you start that bus in the shop to the minute you bring the bus back to the shop, you do not ever shut that vehicle off. It's designed to run. They're diesels.
Yep.
Diesel is the best. This one is a diesel. The last two I built were gas buses. I don't particularly prefer the gas buses over diesels.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I hate diesels because of the way they stink and everything like that, they are way better for doing this type of work.
And when they do need rebuilt, they can be rebuilt forever. I've worked on many diesels and stuff.
Yeah.
I have diesel mechanic friends and stuff like that. And once they do need to be rebuilt, they can be rebuilt forever and be as good the day that you start them up after that and run them for another 200,000-300,000 miles.
Right.
And just maintain and service.
The diesel buses typically, I've seen them with 400,000, 500,000 miles on them, still going strong.
Yeah.
I've had buses that were 300,000, 320,000. Not a problem.
Do you mind talking about the cost of what it would take? And I know you can't be particular, but in a generic fashion from X to X, what you would have to charge to have all this done?
First thing is I always make the client supply me with a head unit, the stereo, the amp, the subwoofer, any TVs that they want put in. I want them to supply whatever they like. If I get it, I'm going to put a JVC head unit in it. The guy that owns the bus, he may look at it and say, well, I didn't want a JVC, I wanted a Pioneer. Mm-hmm. So I let them purchase all the hard stuff. Then I build the bus around whatever they bring me. Mm-hmm. But as far as the cost on everything, I know what the supplies cost me. So then I have to look at the labor. Like this bus, the speakers that he's putting in these buses have color changing LEDs in them. That's that much extra wiring that I have to do to each of the 4 speakers to get the power there for the color changing things.
Sure.
So, labor is the biggest thing. It takes time to gut the bus. It takes time to build, what we've got right here. We're looking at what I refer to as a base. Mm-hmm. Where this bus is right now, I can go anywhere. I can go with whatever colors I want. I can put the stereo where I want. I can put the cooler where I want. This is just the base. Now, from this point on, this bus will start gaining and growing a personality. Mm-hmm. And that's where the fun starts.
Yeah, if in saying that, if nobody's ever watched your channel, and they should, and there will be a link down below, and they should watch your channel and stuff to watch you, because what you go through and just watching you, I've been watching it for a while, and I don't get to sit and watch everybody or make a lot of comments on the ones, because taking care of mom and dad is, right. I got to do. So yeah. I've only got a few seconds to do my own stuff. But watching that, it's very enjoyable for me. That's why we're here today doing the shop talk on this, because people were interested in a little bit of your background, a little bit of the buses and stuff like that. And, it's creativity, automotive, the upholstery, the conversion. It's so cool.
It all ties in.
Yeah.
The stuff that I learned with doing the hearse interior and, building interiors and everything for all my Falcon wagons and everything, all of that stuff is directly connected to what I'm doing in here. Mm-hmm. It's all custom wood. It's custom cut and fit for that vehicle, and then you put the personality to it with the sound systems and the radios and the TVs and everything like that, and the colors and everything like that. then just like an old car, that's where it starts bringing on its
Yeah,
personality.
it becomes its own entity and has, like you
Right.
say, personality and
And
stuff.
then that's when you put a name to it.
Ah,
I always named my buses.
yeah.
And the coolest thing is when you answer the phone and a client from the past, he calls you up and says, "Hey, I was on your Jagged Edge bus before. What? I don't want to be on that bus again. I want something different. So what do you have now?" Well, by giving the buses names,
Yeah.
they remember this stuff.
Yeah.
I've had clients call me from 6, 7 years before, and they say, "Oh yeah, well I was on the Wave Party bus last time." Everybody remembers the names of the buses,
Cool.
and they also remember the name of Digger.
Yeah.
If Digger was the chauffeur,
There you go.
they remember, because it's not like I tell them my name is Chris. Who
Right.
remembers Chris?
Yeah.
Everybody remembers Digger. So you always give everything a name. So everything that I've ever had, vehicle wise, I've always named it something, but I didn't name it until the personality was there,
Yeah.
and then I found a name that fit the personality.
Absolutely, I'm with you. That's just phenomenal and stuff. It's kind of like Dayton. Well, all I can relate to is Dayton girls back in the '60s and stuff. Yeah, you never went out the same weekend with the girl with the same name. We will cut that out. I'm just saying.
We still try to do that. I'm single.
Yeah, stuff like that. Well, let's take. I'm going to take a few minutes, and I want to get some pictures of this one. I also want to try if the gentleman shows up with the other one and stuff, where you're going to do a little mod
Right.
on his. I want to try and get some pictures of that if he's receptive to that,
he'll be fine.
and we'll see what we can do. I greatly appreciate it. Now they can follow you at your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is Diggers Custom Coach, and that is the logo that you'll see when you go to the page.
Yeah.
So
Do you have Facebook, YouTube,
I do
the Facebook and
I do
Instagram?
have Facebook. It's
Yeah.
just under Chris Digger Curtis.
All right.
So they
So-
don't allow you to really.
And
use
people can contact,
stuff
people can
now.
contact you and stuff for any information and stuff through that. Do you have a Gmail account or an email account where they can contact you?
I do have Gmail is PreLimo. That's short for Premier Limousine. PreLimo10, no 10 @gmail.com. Obviously the easier way is my regular website email, which is short for Premier Limousine. PreLimo @prelimo.com. Nice and simple.
There you go. Well, buddy, I want to thank you so much. Like I said, we're going to get some pictures of this and maybe shoot a little video of that one when it gets in,
All right,
if we're still here.
Excuse the mess, excuse the sawdust.
Well-
It is a work in progress.
And that's what it's supposed to be. If it came fully finished, you wouldn't have a job.
Hopefully, when this one's done, maybe you can come back out and do a.
You let me
a
know, and I
finished
will
video.
do my best. You're only 15 minutes down the road.
Yeah, because this one's going to have some curtains in it, and it's got the 3 flat screens, and it's going to have big sound system. Subwoofers are already installed under my butt,
All right.
and everything inside this one is going to be, like I say, the black diamond pleat on the walls and the seat bottoms, and then the seat backs are going hot green.
Oh, there you
and
go.
all the little accents, what I call the trims,
Yeah.
that go up to.
And you
just
have no
bring out
idea.
color.
They'll take it someplace and have the entire outside painted and stuff, right?
He's talking about he's going to wrap the outside of this one.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably the best way to go, I would
Yeah.
think, on
'Cause
all of
the,
these.
The outside of this one, it shows its age.
Yeah.
But it's a good bus.
Yeah.
I've driven this bus because I don't have a pickup truck. So when I need to go get materials,
Yeah.
I drive this bus
There you
to
go.
Lowe's and load everything up in it.
All right, buddy. Well, let me get some pictures and stuff, and we'll wait to see if he shows up. And if he does, we'll get some picture of that. Thank you, buddy.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So we're inside in the garage shop now, where
We are in Digger's Dungeon.
there you go.
With,
Look at that.
With Dr. Love.
Dr. Love.
He's my quality control guy.
There you go.
He inspects everything I do.
It's like that full custom garage. He has the big pit bulls and stuff as his inspectors. How you doing? How you doing? I'm a dog guy, but you know I don't mind kitties.
Well,
I don't mind
I
kitties.
call him Doc Dog.
Yeah.
Because he acts more like a dog than he does a cat.
Yeah. So you got all your parts that you bring in here, all of your tools and everything.
Yep. This is where it all happens. We've got table saw back there in the back corner.
Yeah.
We've got a homemade router table, which is awesome.
Sweet.
We've got the belt sander and a shop vise over there. And then these two tables are just, you know, they move
Movable
around
to
and
whatever, yeah.
anything, whatever.
And all the tools you need and everything that you're doing, and
I've got toolboxes full of nothing but bus stuff and
yeah.
you know, just all kinds of accessories. All my different tools hanging on the walls.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot warmer in here than it is out there, isn't it?
Yeah. I can feel my fingertips.
Well, sweet, buddy. Here's the one Digger built, and he's doing a little service on it for him. We'll get some pictures of that and maybe some information from Digger on it. This is one of the buses that Digger customed. Oh, that's pretty sweet. All right. And that's basically what he turns the other one into. He turns into this. Has your refrigerators, ice coolers, music, air conditioning, ceiling lights, and the stripper pole. There you go. This is pretty sweet. How long did you how long ago did Digger do this one for you?
5 years ago.
5 years ago?
5 years. I'm trying to keep her standing.
Oh, buddy. She's looking sweet still, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
This is that diamond plate
Oh,
stuff
there you go.
that we're putting in the other bus.
Yeah. He said you did this over 5 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. Sweet.
It has. He has maintained it very well.
Oh, there you go.
So we've even done a carbon fiber ceiling. In
Yeah,
there.
I was looking at that. I was pointing out, making sure I was pointing out the stripper pole.
I'm sure a lot of them don't see that.
That's
See,
sweet.
Don?
Yeah.
Show off, man. Show off. You don't want big
Wipe the
butt can't do
fingerprints
that.
off.
Yeah, don't leave anything behind. Well, that's pretty sweet.
I hope you enjoyed this series as much as I enjoyed going out and meeting the people and gathering some of the background information, highlights and lowlights of whatever that they lived and went through. The folks are phenomenal. There are many of them out there, and I believe they all deserve a little recognition for everything they do in supporting the lifestyle and or sport of anything automobile related. I want to put this out so that we maintain and save some of the history of not only the cars but the people that love them as much as I do, maybe even more. I find that hard to believe. But thanks again for coming along. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Any information that I was able to glean will be listed either at the end or down below. So thanks guys, I really appreciate it.